This episode of Storytellers is brought to you by these fine companies.
Hi, I'm Kenny Bernstein, and you're watching Storytellers at CompetitionPlus TV.
You took funny car racing to the next level with the Batmobile.
Oh boy.
and basically, that probably ended the years of the recognizable funny car.
Right.
Is that a source of pride or a regret for you?
Well, let's back it up a little bit first and talk about Dale, because this was all Dale's idea, which of course I was for it, because if it made us be more successful and win, sure, why not? So Dale tells me he wants to build his own body, and it will resemble a Buick. And he says, and we got to start from scratch, and it's going to cost about $300,000 to do this. And I went, oh, wow. Now you got to remember, in those days there were no specific rules on funny car bodies. They were pretty opened up. There was nothing there. So I said, yeah, let's do it. If they think this will be something that will be special, then yeah, why not? This is a chance we can do this thing. So I said, I'm in there with you. I said, we'll put it in the budget and just do it. So he started working on it. And about 7/8 of the way through it, he had it sitting over at the shop where he was doing all this work, at Davis's shop. And he said, well, you better come over and take a look at this thing and see what you think. And it was just a black body there, just come out of the plug, just come out of the mold. It had just got out of the mold and it was sitting up on sawhorses. And so I went over there to see what it was. I had not looked at it till that time. I went over there, I looked at that, and I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, Dale, what have you done? Oh, my goodness me, there's no way that this thing's going to be approved. I said, my goodness me. He said, well, there's no rules on any of it. And you're right, it didn't any more resemble any kind of funny car that had ever been built at that time, none. I said, well, all right. He says, you need to get NHRA down here and get them to see what they have to say. And I went, okay. I said, this ought to be interesting. They all came down to look at this. They walked up and they looked at this car, and I mean, they're walking around it, and I see them over in corners talking to each other and huddling. And then Dallas comes back and he says, Kenny, we got to go to lunch and think about this a minute. So I said, okay, see you later. I will be here. And he said, we'll be back in an hour or so. And I looked at Dale. I says, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I said, this is a $300,000 investment. I sure hope we get to run it. But anyway, they came back an hour later and said, okay, we're going to approve this time, but you got 1 year. After that, we're going to come up with some rules that will solve this continued evolution problem that's going on. And I said, 1 year. I said, I've got $300,000 invested in this thing. They said, that's all we're going to do. That's it. So that's what we got, and that's what we had. And yes, it was completely different than anything, and it blew me away. I had a bigger problem than NHRA. I had a problem with Buick, trying to convince them that this was going to be one of their cars, resemble one of their cars they were making production out of. And that wasn't easy either. But when it came to winning, everybody made an exception to the rule, and that's what happened.
5.48 seconds. No one had ever officially traveled a quarter-mile quicker in a funny car. The quick get quicker. World champion Kenny Bernstein, who already owned the national laps time record at 5:48, has lowered it to a 5.47. He still needs that required 1% backup run.
Indicating they're ready. The starter throws a switch, a flash of amber, and green. And Bernstein just drives away. The quickest elapsed time in the history of the sport, 5.39 seconds. Mike Dunn has run over 273 miles an hour. Oh, a great start for Bernstein. And Mike Dunn explodes an engine. But Kenny Bernstein runs the quickest elapsed time in the history of funny car racing, 5.36 seconds. Bernstein in the far lane.